right now, you pull up your phone, you open a browser, Chrome or Safari or Samsung, type in a URL, or you click on a link from an email, pops it up for you, and we all know the pain of going to a website that is not well suited for a phone, and that's one topic, and it's a big part of PWAs is responsive design, making sure that it works really well in a small mobile form factor. And then, as you're clicking around, there's certain things that, like I'm trying to fill out forms on my phone, and the form is it's got some animation, or it's shifting as I click on things, and it's actually shifting stuff out of view sometimes when I'm trying to fill out a form. So I'm typing blindly, and then I have to scroll up and try to see what I typed, and then sometimes it'll move it back down. There's a lot of little things people try to do on the web that aren't really tested well on mobile. But okay, PWA. Let's just dive right in. The definition of that is a progressive web application. And the whole point of it is, we're going to be focusing on pop-ups and badges in a minute, but let's spend some time diving into PWAs on its own. Let's see. So you want an application that gives an experience like a mobile native app. That's the goal of a PWA, all the way down to offline capability, so that you can that can be running on your device. If you complete the requirements on your project, so you take your web project and you add a few items to your project. Well, okay. Let me follow my slides a little bit here, okay? Hold on. So again, you want an app-like experience on the web. So one thing is you want them to be able to install it, because it means a lot to get user engagement to have an icon on the screen. Now, we're all involved in tech. We all know how to make a bookmark and put it on our home screen. But there is a difference between a bookmark and a PWA. If you add the right things to your project, your website, you configure it. It will give them an option to install on their device. So it looks the same almost as their bookmarks that they put on their home screen, but it actually can download and install all or part of your website, so that if they're offline, they can tap it and it'll pop up and they can do some things. It'll run. It actually installs something when you're offline and look around, but usually once you start navigating, all bets are off. They don't have offline support. Yeah.
Does that really work well with Chromebook, where it's like mostly web-based?
Yes. We're not going to go into it, but they have something called a trusted web application, if I remember right. I'm probably going to get some of these things wrong. I haven't read about it for about a year. But you can take PWA and take it up a couple more notches and package it up and put it in the App Store, for Android, and for the Chromebook store. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, you want a great name and an icon. You want to be on their main screen. You want to build an app that they're going to use every day, and they're going to put it right there on the front screen, not in a folder, not on the second screen. That's all part of engaging users. Okay, notifications. Again, we're going for app-like. Notifications are invaluable for your apps. Whether you have a turn-based game and you get a notification that it's your turn now, that's one type of notification. Or messaging's coming across. Or, I got my Papa Murphy's app and it pops up a weekly deal, a coupon. And again, we're going to talk about this later. That's a weekly, maybe twice at the most, twice a week. Because if you overdo your notifications, boom, you're either shut off or you're deleted. There's what they call it, rage quit your app and delete it off your screen. So you got to be careful with notifications. But if you do them right, it's just they're like, oh yeah, I'm glad it's letting me know that I got this ready, ready to pick up or whatever. Okay, that's great because to build an app you have to learn Swift or Java or Kotlin, and you got to build it out, or there's React Native. There's a bunch of different stacks. There's Flutter. You can do all that, but you can take web programming languages, build up web pages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and add the PWA configuration files to it, and boom, it's installable. Let's see what else we got here. Let me see. Oh, and skip the App Store hassles. They're very easy to update. So again, I was saying, PWA, there's so many different options you can do, but by default, it installs your whole project onto their phone or tablet or computer. This works on everything. I mean, if you go here, let me see where my Chrome apps are. Yeah, am I walking into it? Or
Ionic sign on your chest really good.
Once I start typing it, boom. Yeah.
We're not seeing the screen.
Not seeing the screen at all. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Is that angle better?
Well, what would you prefer, the screen?
I want to make sure the screen is there because they're going to do a lot of content. So thank you. I did a little.
Can you just share your screen?
No, not with YouTube. We could do that in Zoom, but so I'll just leave it right here, and I'll stay back right here. All right. Yeah. So those of you that have apps in the App Store, it's quite a lot that's required to get them submitted and approved and everything. And with the website, you have a website out on the web. Hopefully people like it and they'll share it. So let me see. Any other comments about why you would build a PWA?
I know for me, we're working on kind of a business app, so we don't really care if it's in the App Store at all.
Yeah, business app. Good.
And so internally, it's perfect.
Uh-huh.
You have a lot more control. You can deploy whenever you want to.
Yeah.
And I think anyone developing an app, even for the App Store, should start there.
Yeah.
Work it out so you get to a point that
Yeah.
you're ready to, publish it and look at it. It's a great way to beta something.
Yeah, it's a great way. He's talking about proof of concept, just to build something out first.
PC, you put it on anything. So I think it's a great solution.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of websites adding it. I mean, YouTube. I mean, right here, if I run YouTube, the app, boom, it's not really an app. This is a PWA that I just clicked the install button on when I went to the website.
Yeah.
And but it's nice. It has its own window and.
That's the same like with the Google Music.
Yeah.
Is a really
I mean, yeah. Here, let me see if I've got where, because it's not just in applications. It's like Chrome. There's a Chrome apps directory, but I always lose it. Users. I don't. Yeah, there it is. Users, applications, Chrome apps. So these are all the apps that I've installed, and you can't see them all, but Board Game Arena, Claude AI, Code Sandbox, ESPN, Game Snacks. That's a Google one too. Google Chat, Google Drive. Yeah, even Zoom, their website can be launched as a PWA. Excuse me. Yep, Revere Health, Regex 101. I use that a lot, so I installed it. You gotta do the Regex. Outlook, even, that's an intense application. Outlook. It's like Gmail, but different. Yeah. All right. Ionic Forum. Anyways, so any website can be made an app. And the goal, I think, with most PWAs is people can launch it and you just stay right in the app. And you can always get anywhere in the app in the screen. You don't have to do back buttons. You know, there's usually a logo up in the corner where you can go to the home page where you start and get to everything. Nav menu that turns into a hamburger menu. There's lots of different things like that. But it's important to know you're not going to have a back button. You're going to have to do your own nav. You're going to have to make it very mobile friendly getting around. Okay, so there you go. That's what I've got installed for PWAs. Now, how do you do it? So, you know, usually your website, you've got an index.html. You've got style sheets, got some JavaScript scripts you're including, maybe even some you've imported, NPM installed, and, you know, like Bootstrap and your Tailwind CSS and, you know, whichever. You got all that. That's in your website. Now, all you got to do to make it a PWA is you add a file called the web manifest.manifest. It can be called different things, but that's kind of the standard. Serviceworker.js. We'll talk about service workers a little bit. We're not going deep into that today. It requires it though for PWA. And you need a good icon because when they install it, most websites have a fave icon. That's what it's called, and that's what you get in your browser, really tiny little thing. And they're getting higher definition slowly, but not like we have on our iPads and our computers and all that. So there's you need to use some high definition graphics for your icon and splash screen. And once you do those, the web manifest file it says use these icons, and even defines a few colors and a name. We'll look at it in a minute. And then in your index.html file, you include the web manifest and the service worker, and boom, you're a PWA. All right. So it's pretty easy. Like I just explained how to do it manually. You can grab a sample of each of them and just drop it in there and edit it and change it to your values and get it running. And that's what I did like 6 years ago when we sunsetted 2 mobile apps, well, an Android and an iOS at Verisk Exactware where I work, and we replaced it with a PWA. There were no automatic tools like they have nowadays to do it. And, it's pretty easy to get the basics going. A lot of options to configure it even more. So I'm going to be focusing my examples on Ionic View, the Ionic View stack, and it's really pretty simple. Those of you that do web projects, you have Node installed, you're ready to go. You install the Ionic command line. You type Ionic start, you create your project, you choose view, and anything else really matter. We'll go through some of the steps, and then boom, you're ready to run it. And then we got to make it a PWA. And the latest Vue Ionic starters are Vite based instead of the old Vue CLI. And so I found these Vite plugins tools for PWA. First one helps you create those files to make it a PWA. And then the second one helps you take your icon and splash screen and create all the different sizes you need and publish them on the website. And then you have to add 3 files too. It doesn't do. I've used some PWA tools that add all these files for you, so you just go in and edit them. I think Angular, if you do an ng add PWA or ng add at Angular/PWA, I think it does that for you. It gives you files you can actually edit. This one kind of left me hanging, but I went through their doc for the Vite plugin PWA, and it just it walked me through and PW assets config. We'll look at those files. There's a few scripts I added to my package JSON for the asset generator. Just commands that you type to generate the assets. And then once you do that, anytime that you build your project, they get republished. So if you change them or anything, the build will take care of using those in your project. And then this is the main thing I found was in Vite config TS. There's a section you drop in there when you import the PWA plugin that actually gets put in your web manifest. So that's where the web manifest content is in the Vite config. And lots of options always. You can create your own files and configure Vite config to read those and use them, but I just went for their quick tutorials, their short path, fast path. All right, and then once I got the PWA running, okay, right here, I've got a PWA. All right, one step I didn't put on here is you got to design a nice icon. You got to take the time to do that and make it, like 5,000 by 5,000. No, I don't know what it is. It's like 2,000 by 2,000 pixels or something that they ask you to make, just so they can scale it to the different sizes. In fact, they even recommend using an SVG because it is fully scalable, expandable. But they convert them into PNGs, which is what it needs to install as PWA. So this is all, this gets us a PWA. Boom, our starter app. In fact, this is the part where we're going to run through and do this. If you want to follow along, yeah, let's jump on this one right here. So let me put my screen up a little bit here, and I'm gonna go to my meetup directory. And all right, let me make that even bigger for you. Okay, is it? All right, so the first thing we did was Ionic start. All right, and again, before this, I don't know, Ben, if you've got these kind of tooling set up, or if you're going to try to follow along, but there's you'll need Node and Ionic CLI. So now I have it. So Ionic start. I'm not going to use the web page wizard. I'm going to choose view. Give it a name. All right, let's do view badge. I'll just do view PWA for this one. All right, and I'm going to start with a blank one, just totally simple. The smallest, simplest, most basic. It won't take too long, maybe 30 seconds though. Yeah, so this downloads the starter project and does an npm install. So it's pulling packages down, and then yeah, when it's ready, I'll just cd into that directory, which is going to be called view PWA, and we can Ionic start or Ionic serve our project. So there it is. It says right here, cd into your directory. And I'm just going to do view PWA, and then we just do Ionic start. And now again, this is just an Ionic project. Oh, called serve. All right, boom. There it is. All right, I got my developer tools. Let me make this projector friendly. All right, here's our app. I think it's just normal view, but I'll zoom in a little bit. Blank page, it's got a header. It's got this content in the middle. That's all it is. Let's go look at the code real quick before we add PWA to it. And in fact, I like going back to here, open a new tab in this directory, type code dot. That gets us our project, view PWA project right here. You can browse around all these project files all you want. This is basic Ionic view combination project. Source is the main view source, but here's the index HTML that is, it's the page that gets served up that the app is run in. And right down here at the bottom is the div that it's rendered in. So that's all you need. It's just a shell, and the app is rendered inside of there. The source, again, it's very simple. We have an app.view, and it's got, okay, now view files, for those that aren't familiar, it combines, in Angular, you got 3 separate files for the HTML, CSS, and TypeScript. And this combines them all into one .view file. So it's very similar, otherwise, not really. But with the standalone variations now, it's getting cleaner. Angular is. But the reason I love Vue is because it's very close to what you learn in HTML and TypeScript classes. It's cleaner to me, and I can do imports, and I can do just stuff without making them a formal service or other things. And anyways, that's my little mini Vue platform. So there's the app. Again, it's just dropping in an app tag with a router outlet, because right now we have one route. In fact, we can go look at router and see what it says. Yep. There's one route called home, and if they go to the root, it's redirected to home. So that's all there is. Simple app, one page. Let's go into the views folder and see the home that it's referring to, because here you see it's importing it and referencing it here. So we'll open up home page. Again, we've got our HTML at the top, Ionic stuff, all the Ionic tags, the page structure that gives you that responsive app that you want on a mobile device, and it also looks good on desktop and tablets, and get rotated or anything. It's just super responsive. So there's our HTML right up here. There's just an import in the script, and then style. They do have a bunch of styles around this container in the middle that, the one where if we go back to our app right here in the middle, that's the container. And they got links, and they got, hey, let's show you our documentation page. So they put a link for that in there. So that's helpful. Get you building. So let's see, go back to here. I'm going to clean this up now just to make it simple. There are every Ionic project has 2 headers included in it. The second one is for an Apple design. I'm going to pull that out. It's part of the content. It scrolls with the page and stuff, fades in and out. But we'll just pull that out. I'm going to do on our content, I'm going to put some padding. So Ionic has a lot of nice utility classes on padding. I'm going to pull out this container right here. All right, so we just have empty content section right there. And then I'm going to go down here, and all this CSS is for that container. So I'm just going to delete it all. So now take a look. This is it. This is our main app. This is the main page that we have right now. It's the one we're going to be working in. So let's call this View PWA. Change the title there. In fact, whenever I change the main app title, I try to always remember, go back to the index HTML, because it also has a title. So I'll do that there too. View PWA. All right, so there it says it up here, and then up here this is the index HTML title. All right, we're ready to go. Now we're going to add the PWA support to it now. All right. I'm going to drop a button in here just to put some content, but button. Oh, that's wrong. do that. And I'm going to do fill equals, isn't it fill block? And we don't need to do anything with it, but here, click me. Fill block will make it the width of the screen. So if I come back here, oh, look at that, can't even see it, or you can't see the width of it. So I'm going to do a color equals primary. All right, and okay, what am I missing? Oh, ion button needs to be imported. That's what it's doing. You got to get a partial rendering if you don't import it. No, it's not fill equals block, it's expand. Expand equals block. All right, so okay, we got our basic app here. Now let's go back out to the command line and run those commands to import the or to add PWA support. And again, on my slides here, npm, that's not gonna let me get it in view mode. Goodness. Okay, so that's the command I'm gonna run. There's 2 packages there we are adding to our project. Back here, and I'm gonna paste that in. So again, Vite plugin PWA, that's the main functionality of PWA, and then the assets generator is going to help us with the icons and splash screens. All right, so let's give that a minute. Let that run, and then these other 3 files, I'm going to go and grab them from this other project that I created in preparation. All right, that one's done already. Good. So, boom. Just did a hot module update replacement. Let's go to our browser, see if anything looks different. Probably not. Reload. Okay, now, PWAs. I'm running this on localhost, right? You see the address there, localhost 8100. PWAs, one of the requirements is it has to run on a secure server. And so we will not have, if this was a PWA, we just added PWA code to this. So you might expect to have Chrome has a little install button that appears right here to install a PWA, but you're not going to get that in developer mode right here. So what we've got to do, let's go add the other configuration files to it because we don't have our manifest or anything. So PWA assets config TS and vite config. Okay, so now hope this just doesn't get too confusing, but I'm going to be jumping between projects to copy some of that. PWA assets. All right, so I'm going to hop over here, PWA assets config. I'm going to just copy that file. All right, and then over here, oh, I got 3 windows open. I only need 2. All right, this is our new view PWA. So I'm going to come right down here to the bottom, and I'm going to paste in. It wants me to be on a folder. Right here, I want to paste. Can I paste? I just Command P. It's there. All right, so PWA assets config. So this is a real simple file. If you look at it, it just says, I don't even know. I haven't figured out what this public dev logo is used for. I haven't gone down that path, but this was in the simple example. So we need a logo in both of these places. All right, so let's go make a logo, and I'm not going to do an SVG right now. I'm going to default to my, oh, look at that. Let's do a party logo. As you may tell, this is an emoji made really big. And I'm just going to grab it off of the screen with a little bit of padding around it. Icons usually look a little better with some padding. So And I'm going to try to be a little square here. 800 is right there. Okay. Boot. All right. So it's square. Let me center it. Oh, got to switch to preview app to do that, to do some editing. Again, I'm just making them. You can do your icons. There's tools for it. Some of you are more into the graphics design than I am, but I'm just going to copy and paste this over itself so I can center it visually. Yeah, that's pretty good. Save that file, and let's just save it to our project directory. Projects, meetup, view PWA, and we want to go in the public. And this is going to be called, I'm going to call it icon.png. And I'm just going to do a PNG for this one. In fact, what is the, that's 800 by 800. I think this will do. We'll see if we get any problems with it. So we dropped that in there. We need two. We also need a public dev folder, is what it said. And we need to copy this icon and drop it into here. Now there's one in each place. So now our file needs to say, it's logo. Well, I called it icon.png. So press too hard, get the lookup. All right, so new territory here. Didn't try this without an SVG, but let's do the other two steps. Package JSON scripts. Okay, I'm going to flip over to the other project, package JSON. I've got several that I've collected here. I'm going to grab all 4 of them. We'll hit them later. All right. Again, so these are just ways to make a shortcut for scripts that you want to run, especially when they're really long and lots of parameters. So package JSON, I'm just going to add them to this project. Boom. So all I have to do is type, like you see, most of these, npm run build, npm run test, lint. Well, I just added npm run assets, npm run Android. That's going to launch an emulator for me. npm run HTTPS, because I want to run this locally with HTTPS and try to make it run as a PWA. Still had a few issues with it on this project, but and then I've got a deploy that does the build plus Firebase deploy only hosting. And yeah, we'll get to those. But this main one right here, generate our assets. Let's go run that one right now. Let's go back out to our command line. And so I'm going to run npm run assets, and let's see if it works. Boom, boom. Okay, just generated all those files for us. Now I haven't edited. There was a third file here. I have to edit vite.config.ts. So let's go do that. I'm going to flip over to this other project where I got it working, vite config.ts, and there's a whole bunch. Basically, we're adding this vite PWA plugin. We're adding it into the plugin array, but we're passing it all this whole bunch of, it's basically a web manifest. You see the manifest tag right here? That's what's used in your PWA. But so I'm going to grab that whole section down to, I can't tell, I think it's right there, because that's the array of plugins. Okay, so let's flip over to our other projects, and you'll see how clean we are here. Vite config, boom, that's everything right there. Oh. And I don't know why it has squiggly lines. It runs fine. So I don't care. Not for today. So I'm just going to paste all that in. Now it's not going to know about the Vite PWA plugin. So let's see if I'll just go grab the import. All right, so I'm just, in order to use that, we've got to import it. And let's look at this just a little bit. Like I said, these PWAs have lots of different options. We're going with the default auto update. That means when someone relaunches your PWA, it's gonna handle the updating for you. It's not always right when they first launch it. It's usually it'll copy the files over, and then I think the next time you run it, it uses the new assets. But yeah. And when I say that, new assets, you've built a new version of your app, you published it. They're launching a PWA they saved from the old version, and so it loads, it detects changes, and it'll auto update for you. And so again, these are all defaults that came in the instructions for this plugin. If you go to their documentation, they have links on the last slide for all this. I just copied most of this here, and then I edited it to what I was calling my project here. So I was calling View Badger. Notification. We're going to add notifications. That was kind of my main push for this. And then there's a couple definitions of icons that it can use at 2 resolutions. Again, this is the quick path, following their instructions. You can have 10, 20 different icons defined right there. That's just 2. And so you have all different sizes for old devices that have little resolution and don't need the big icons. And so that can be a lot longer. All the rest of the stuff I haven't touched. That's just all adding the Vite PWA plugin to the Vite config so that it will rebuild with that. So if I go back here to my first tab, okay, whenever I make big changes to Vite config, it's pretty good about, look, it says server restarted. I mean, if I go back to our project tab here and I hit reload, I mean, it's nice. This console down here is still clean. There's no errors. Some build tools would make you stop and restart the build, but this has been pretty good. Again, okay, we added PWA. This is completely a PWA. So I'm going to push this out to Firebase right now, and then you can each go to it and install it, and then we'll make some changes to it, and then you can update it, on your device if you want to do that. But all right, so real easy to get it out on Firebase. I've got Firebase tools installed already. That's what it's called. So you can do an npm install globally Firebase tools -tools like that, and that'll get you the Firebase command that I'm going to use right here. So Firebase init. Okay, I just want to say, hey, I want to publish this out on free Firebase host. So I'm just going to say, I don't need databases. I just want hosting right there and hit enter. Okay, I want to create a new project and give it an idea or an ID. Sorry. Let's do Ionic, Utah. Meetup. Let me see. I want to keep it easy. It becomes part of the URL. View PWAs, I'm sure it's going to be taken. Let's just do Ionic Utah Meetup, IUM-view PWA. All right. I'll put another dash in there. What would you like to call your project? I'll just hit enter to keep that same name. Now it's creating this for me. And then I'm going to do a Firebase deploy. Oh, we have to do a build. All right. So when you run Ionic Serve, it's doing a Vite dev. It's just running in development mode. You haven't built your site for production mode. And so that command that I put in our package JSON right here, deploy. So if I run npm run deploy, it's going to do the build and deploy to Firebase for us. So, okay, what do you want to use? Public directory. It's called dist. And configures a single page app. Yes, it is. And no, I'm not going to worry about builds and deploys with GitHub. We'll have to do that another night. Learn about GitHub actions. Okay, that's done. So if I do an npm run deploy, cross our fingers, should have an icon. This is pushing it's building our website right there. Boom. Now it's copying them to Firebase, and boom, that's done. So if you go to this website right here, you will get our app, and it should have a PWA install option. Okay, there it is. Look at that. It even appeared install, and then it went back. So big, huge. Let me zoom in. All right. So we got this little install icon here. So if I hit that, install, hey, look at that. We got our icon, we got our name, and then we got they always know where this is coming from. It's always tied to your website. So install, and boom, it adds it to our Chrome apps directory. And it is now like an app. I mean, it gets its own window. I can hit quit, It's not just a Command W to close the window, or you're actually closing a full app. And so it shows up here in the Chrome apps. Yeah, that's the one. View Badger. So I got another one over here that was the one I built preparing for this. But this one has the party icon. All right. So what does that mean? So now Windows or Mac, I've got this installed. So I'm just going to run, Windows, you hit the menu key. Here I'm going to hit my search and just type View Badger, the party one. And there it is. It just launches like an app. It does nothing at all. Click, it does nothing. All right, so that is a PWA. We've gotten through the whole part. Any questions about what we've done? I've kind of kept moving on it, but I'm going to try to get through it and then make time to come around and help where you're at on your steps. But yeah, Alpheus, you had a question? No? All right, Tyler?
Is it possible to have that kind of auto update thing? Sounds like it just refreshes it when it's convenient. Is there any way to force that update? Or is something not important?
Yeah, like when they run it, you want it to make sure
Yeah,
it.
that's the whole point. You can't guarantee that, but
Mm-hmm.
is there a way to
Yeah. There's ways to prompt the user even, and that's the most common thing. In fact, it said in the example that I was reading through, it said by default this will pop up and prompt the user to install the new version. And I wonder if I even gave it a chance. I mean, I was always hard reloading. I mean, and I might not have ever gave it a chance to do that. But it says by default it will prompt. But there should be code for that if that's true. Again, let's go to our dist directory. It's you guys know it's obfuscated. It's completely minimized. This is our. In fact, let me open it up in the Finder. All right, come on, I can go big. And there's the dist directory. As a list. Is there an easy way to zoom this? Oh, nice. Well, zoom's one level. Okay, assets. That's the code and everything. Okay. So, but back here in the dist directory, there is an index.html. This is a website. So it's got that. It's got the favicon ICO. It's got our icons with the party stuff. Here's a service worker right here. So let's open that up. In fact, I'll just double click it. Yeah. I could debug instead, but Workbox is a service worker building tool, and that's what it leverages. Register service worker, that's just index.html. Let's look at that. Let's open that with code. Why do I have two? This is the compiled version. So down here, we expect to have it loading the manifest. So here's the manifest right here. And then here's the service worker. So it calls a script register service worker, and then that one imports and registers the service worker JS file. We're in the dist directory, so let me see. Register service worker. There's not much to this right here. It's just a short line. If your browser supports service workers, then add a load event that loads SWJS as a service worker. And then the actual service worker, again, we looked at that a minute ago. It's there's probably a way. This code can do about everything. Command Shift P. What's the opposite of minification? It's format. Well, it's just format, right? Just format. I'm just going to format the doc. That's available all the time right there. It puts spaces in. All right. Okay. How about, well, hold on. What's the prettier or other lint? Can't spell. Lint. Sonar lint. Oh, brother. There's a way to format it nicely. And I'm sure there's a plugin that does it. I was hoping it was built in. But, man. You can look up service worker, basic service worker, and you'll see it just does, it has a little place where it creates which files are we going to install on the user's device. So it has a block of code that defines what files and then when to update it, because there's different options. And you can choose to load local first over network or network first over local so that it falls back to what they have installed, but always goes to network first. But that's not the way the default is. It always runs what it has installed until it updates. So yeah, so we really can't learn much anything else from that. But take a breath for a minute and then jump into notifications, because you have to have a PWA in order to have notifications in the browser. Some browsers, I think, in fact, PWA support. There's a bunch of parts of it. If you go to the can I use if we just do PWA, I don't think it's gonna, web app manifest. So right here, that's a feature of it. So well, the specific parts of the PWA, like notifications, web notifications right here, it varies a lot. There's a standard, and some of the browsers support them, but like if I'm on Safari on the desktop, it'll work like the standard says. If I'm on a mobile device, no, they require it to be tied to a user event. So when the page loads, I can't prompt them and say, do you want to allow notifications? Because the page loaded, that's not a user interactive event. And Apple, and in your console, when I was debugging and I saw this, working on this last night even, I kept getting that error message on mobile Safari. It just says, it has to be tied to a user. In fact, if you search my browser history, it's like iPhone, Safari, enable push notifications. What else? Notifications. Okay, it's not showing up. But the error message, I finally figured out how to simplify the code. What happened was I got rid of a promise because it was going through and doing some initialization and checking to see if the browser supported notifications and service workers before it created a notification. And it was done. The main part of it that actually created the notification was in an async function, a callback, a promise. It was inside of a then, and so it wasn't directly tied. That's the way I got around it. I'm like, let me unwrap this, and so I did the initialization up front on the page load, and then when they tapped, I only did the notification creation, and it worked. Because before, the examples I got, they always had these checks and tests around it with promises, and anyways, it didn't work, so I had to unwrap it a little bit. But so every browser is a little different. Let me see. Vue has a great site called vueuse.org. All right, and you install Vueuse as a whole package. I found out. I'm just starting to get into it, but you install it, and you get access to all the different pieces and parts of it, all the different plugins that it has. So for notifications, there is a Vueuse notification. So if you come here and search, you look for use web notification. There it is. Boom, and it tells you. Well, first of all, and I'm gonna do this. Gonna go through it, but let me tell you up front. When I added this little bit of code here, this plugin for notifications, it worked on desktop browsers, but not on phones. PWAs. We're trying to make PWAs, notifications. I think they're most valuable on a mobile device. Yeah, I can see a use case on a desktop. Yeah, but anyways, I had to do a bunch of tailored code for both Android and iOS. So we'll look at those blocks of code. But let's go ahead and add this to our project. So I'm going to have to go to my cheat sheet notes here. So I think it's just, Vueuse core right there. npm install Vueuse core. So npm install at Vueuse, that's the user account it's under. We're installing the core package. Once you do that, you can import notifications from that in your project. So again, we go back to the documentation here, which is tiny, sorry. And it says right here, and this is a little demo sample right here. You can click on it. And guess what? I've got notifications turned off. Do not disturb. All right, notification. Let's get it going here. I've got this. Well, you know what? I've had some of them pop up. Yeah, look, they're popping up right here. Panda Express wants your feedback. Let me know what you guys thought. So right here, I've got all. Oh no, these are from my other. I thought it was from Vueuse. Oh yeah, the top one. So it did get one. So let me clear all those apps. All right. So if I hit that again, how do you get it to pop up? I was getting it to pop up. It was a setting somewhere in my OS or something. So it would pop up every time instead of just going into the notification list. Even last night it was doing it for me. Let me reload the page. Hard reload. In fact, first time you go to this page, it will prompt you. It uses its own code, and it prompts you and says, are you okay to receive notifications from this page? You need to say yes if you want to click this button and try the demo. Hey, it's coming up now. I reloaded the page. So it pops up right there, and then it goes away, but it's in your notification list for later use. All right, so how do you use it? These are all the different things that are available when you use it here. We really only need like show. is supported is nice. And then I started adding some other stuff you'll see in the code, used on show and on click. So when they click on the notification, it does something in your app or something like that. Kind of nice. But that's all they show you. That's all that's right here. So let's grab this bit of code and go to our project, view PWA, we're going to go to our page. We're just going to work completely inside of homepage.view. I'm going to close all the others. Close that. Okay, so here in our script, I know we're going to have to import it, but let's just go ahead and use web notification. It says, I just paste that in. I love this. We've already done the npm install, so it VS Code knows there's a quick fix to import it from view use core. Boom. So there's the code, and then right here, if supported, show. All right. I'm going to go ahead and save that and go to our app. Oh, look at that. It popped up on the screen already. And that's from our tab here, right here, which we have a button that doesn't do anything, but we have some JavaScript code, TypeScript code that's running right now. And it says, if supported, show the notification. And what does show do? Well, it presents it creates a notification in the browser using these options right here that we initialized it with. So again, these right here, this is deconstructuring. It's kind of an intermediate advanced thing. We're defining all of these variables coming out of the use web notification call. That's returning all those to us, and we can use them. So down here, it's really nice on what can I do here? On click. Let's try an on click. So we do on click, and it works like other. Whenever you use a framework, you have options like Ion, View, Will Enter, and stuff like that. So on click, and I've got my Copilot set up here, so you see it's auto completing it. We're going to send a function of what to do when this is clicked. So I'll go ahead and accept that. Doing all that work for us. Clicked. And log out to the console. That's good enough for me. Let's go back and reload this. Boom. I just clicked on the notification and console log clicked down here. So again, what's the magic of that? What you can do is you can put in this click, you can navigate. You can do a view router and say, oh, they clicked on this notification, and you can even read attributes of the notification and say, oh, they need to go to this page because they clicked on a notification for messages, and that's on a different page. So you can do all that inside of that click handler that I just threw on here. And again, that's available out of this plugin. All these other ones we're not using. Okay. I don't want to go too much longer on this. That's the basics of notifications. Let me now switch over to the completed project, and we'll look at some of the code. Okay, that we walked through. I wish those notifications worked on Android and iOS, but they don't. No, it's different on Android. Was it different? No, I think it ended up being the same. I'd have to think back on that. Let me pull up this page here, close all the others, close the file browser, and then let's look at this a little bit. I broke things out quite a bit. Okay, for one thing, this project, let me switch over and run it. All right, so I'm going to stop this one, go over. That one's still running an Android device. Debadger. Okay, so this one, Ionic serve. Make that bigger if we need to look at that some more. Terminal wants to control it. Sounds okay to me. All right, so this is running. What I did was I put an input on here, and so that when you click on the Notify Me button, it actually uses whatever you type in. So I can change this message. Hello world, glasses on, notify me, and boom, it has that text in the notification. And then also, second part of this was badge count. And you can only see that when you run it as a PWA. So let's look at the code first for this, so I can show you the little bit of the different code paths. So I've got several variables declared here: view style, reactivity. I've got the message, so it's a reference, so it's reactive. And then same with the notification count. I wanted to be able to just type in something and have it set it on the app, so that when I closed the app, looked at the icon, it would have a little badge on there, said 3 or 5 or 99. So that's the badge count. And then here's the options. There's a few extra options I put in there. Tag is an ID for the message. So if you send something with the same ID, it replaces the previous one. If you have a countdown, there's a meeting starting in 15 minutes, and you want it to say meeting starting in 14 minutes, meeting starting in 13 minutes, but you don't want a separate message queuing up on their screen, you use the same tag and it will replace the previous one. So that's what I've right here. I've got it always, putting a new message up. What? You're right. It hides the other one, and if it was showing, it goes away, and it presents the new one. And there's some other options I didn't even get to, like vibrate on a mobile device is supposed to be able to enable vibration. I didn't have Android. From what I've read, iPhones will vibrate once. No matter what values you put in here, it vibrates once. But Android will actually follow the zzz, zzz, it'll do a 200 millisecond, 100, 200. All right, but those are the options again, but I defined them up ahead and I actually put them in a function, because when they click the button, I want it to pick up the new message they've typed. I want to pick up the incrementing tag number. So I just made it a function, options. So when they click the button, we go and get the latest of what they've typed and everything. Okay, now when the view enters, this is where we're grabbing, and I'm just grabbing these 4 functions out of this plugin. Okay, and then I set supported, because my buttons, if you look on these buttons, I said, disable the buttons if notifications is not supported in this browser. So that's kind of a nice thing to do, on the UI, disable them and so they don't try. All right, and then here's the on show. So whenever it's displayed, I console log, and I create a toast message, notification shown. That way, sometimes when I'm running on my mobile devices, I don't have access to console.log output, or it's a pain to hook everything up and get it so I can see it. So I added the toast controller in there as a debug. So same here, on show and on click, it's gonna, for one thing, I told it to close the notification when it's clicked. I like that. That's not the default. So I like having that. So I put that in the on click event. And then I just popping up. These are just messages. They're debugged for me, the developer. Got to see something when you click. Navigator.service worker ready. Okay, now this actually does, like I was telling you, I unwrapped the promises that they had in their sample. This right here, it gives me that registration object. So SW registration is defined right up here before the block. And then it's set on, this is on view, Ion view did enter. So it's the on init if you're used to Angular. So it does that and gets me a registration object, because then when they click on the button, which calls the notify function. We can try using that first. Yeah, I try that way first. And if it has any errors, then I back off and I use the easy way using this plugin, the show command out of that library in the show. But first this is what works on iOS and Android. So show notification, view badger with all the options. So it calls the function again. Every time they click, it calls this and it grabs the latest text to put in the message and all that. So it's really, it wasn't that complicated in the end. Of course, when you Google stuff and you're trying to find solutions, there's 20 different ways and some are this long. And anyways, finally got it back down to a couple lines here. But, oh, and then I put a watcher on the badge count. So like if you go and edit it in the UI here, if I go and change this to 31, you see it updated it on the button. Okay, and then also it's actually calling the Navigator API to set the app badge as well. It doesn't work here in the browser, but when I go and run this view badger, this is the version right here. This is the version that I'm showing you now. So now if I change this badge count, well, hold on, let me show you. Do you see the icon on the left? That's our app icon. It's a 3 right now. So let's go back to it and let's change it to 31. So 31. We have access to the red bubble, the notification badge, they call it. And it's called set app badge in the browser. So that's how we see it over here. So the code has a watcher. Whenever the user updates the badge count, we call update app badge. And that's just a mini lesson right here. There's not much to it. That's everything. If they've changed it to 0, we call clear app badge. And that just means if clear app badge exists, then call await navigator the function clear app badge. That's the same thing as doing if it exists, then call it. But that's shortcut. And then and if it's not 0, we want to set it. So if it exists, because it doesn't on some browsers, then call it with the value, the number. So that's all you do for the badges. Okay. Well, first one note, there's a mini lesson right here. You notice here in the app, if you're going to put a red badge on your icon, you better sure as heck, when they launch your app, there better be a trail to how to clear it. What are these 31 items? If they open your app, if it's buried in a menu, your menu should have a little red dot on it. There needs to be a trail to where the notifications are, how they can clear that red dot on their icon. So that's what I put this button here for, basically, is just to make that point. Make sure if you're using that, if you're setting the app badge count, when they launch your app, you better give them a real clear path to where those notifications are and how they can clear them. All right. There's a whole psychology thing on anxiety due to red dots and unread things. And so you got to make that easy. So I just hit clear on that. So if I go out now, this Ionic icon for that app doesn't have the red on there anymore. Okay. Yeah, that even took longer than I thought it would. We went through all the steps. We hit both notifications and badges. Let me jump back to the slides and see if I missed anything. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Okay, so we've done all that. We added the VU's core, and we use that it's used for desktop. And actually, I'll have to test that. It might never be having an exception and go into that second block of show notification. Again, I tweaked the code and got it running for iOS and Android because that View Use only works on desktop browsers. I should maybe be clear. The View Use web notifications plugin only worked on desktop for me. All right, and then we added a little bit of code to update the badge, the app badge. Now, to do any of these things, it's going to prompt the user. They're going to get the prompt. Is it okay for this app to send notifications? You can't set the badge. You can't do any notifications if they say no. All right, so that's another consideration to remember. And I was hoping tonight we could spin up a quick example in Vue and then show an Angular, because Angular is the more broadly used tool. But just the same concepts apply, and you'll have similar code. And you can pull code right out of this and reuse it. All right, links to everything in here. Let me see, there was one more note I was going to say about the app. Well, let me see. We have the PWA. Yeah, we didn't spend the time to update the PWA that we did create and republish it or anything. But yeah, any further questions about progressive web apps? If someone never installs it, if they just go to it, they can just go to your website and just use it. It's just a website. It's nicely done. You know, if they hit install PWA, boom, it's going to be an icon on their desktop, and it's going to be the files are going to be installed. And if you build it right, you can make it offline capable or not. It depends on your app use. You know, like we can't do that with our PWA at Exactware because it's all about claims data. They have to be tethered to the internet. So we don't worry about offline ability for ours. But just think about that when you're building your app. Do you want them to be able to use it offline? Because you have to code that. You have to say, if I'm offline, do this. If maybe you're caching some things, or so there's another layer things you can do.
Can you have it hosted on Render as well, maybe? Or,
Hosted on Render?
yeah.
That's a host service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been using the class because it's free, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Render. There's so many out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's one
yeah.
Thomas liked a lot, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you found like capacitor plugins that don't work as PWAs?
Yeah. Notifications.
Yeah.
No, in fact, if you want, okay, that's what it was. Caveats. Okay. In fact, I think I still have it running here. No, I killed it. So here in my browser, in my other project that's all completed, if I do that npm, I'm using a different package manager here, so ignore the man behind the curtain. npm run Android. Okay, I've got this Android emulator with this PWA installed on it. So if I go and run it, make a liar out of me. Where is it? There's like 2 pages, isn't there? Oh, what is going on? Hold on. It's a different emulator. Is it still loading? Okay. My whole point is when I add notifications, when I tell it, like I click, create notification a couple times, I click that button. They pop up and you hear a ding on the emulator and everything. Android ding notification, and you can see little icons up in the top system tray. And if I go to the home screen and look at my icon, it doesn't put a count, but it puts a red dot. So that was one caveat, is it does not put the count. Because I'm doing a set app badge, but Android doesn't use that, doesn't care about that for PWAs. It just knows you have an active notification, and it puts a red dot on the app associated with it. As soon as I go clear those notifications, no matter what I've done with my app badge count or anything else, that red dot goes away as soon as I clear the notifications. So that's one caveat. And then on Apple worked great. Once I got past that issue. So here it is right here, badge count. I can come in here and set 23. And if I go to my home screen, boom, it's 23 now. And if I say notify me, then I go to my home screen, pull down the notifications. If I tap on it, it's nice. It actually takes you to the app. Chrome does not even open the app for you. iOS does when you click through. I don't think desktop did either. No, desktop would take me to the Chrome browser, but not my PWA, installed PWA window. So it was kind of weird. Click on it and it would pop up Chrome in the foreground. So there's all kinds of caveats with this, but for mobile, that's our focus. We've got a pretty good solution here with Apple. Again, we got our notifications. Okay, and one more differentiator. Sorry. All this stuff we're doing immediate local notifications. You can also set up to receive push notifications from Firebase Cloud Messaging or who's the other big provider? Twilio. There's a bunch. There's Pusher. There's something else push. You can go subscribe and pay per push. But FCM, Firebase Cloud Messaging, does have a free tier, so you can get pretty far with that. But we didn't go there. That's push notifications. These are local notifications. So hopefully we can get to. I want to figure those out next. Yeah, lots of great tutorials. Any other questions? We did go long. If you want to hang around, you got your laptop or whatever, you want some help on any of these things, I'll be here for another half hour. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Yeah.